Hi guys, so this is your tutorial 9 Telecommunication and Building Control for your Building Science and Services 2. Okay, so there's a few questions in this tutorial, so let's get on with the question. So for the first question is asking you to name three main components of a communication system. So the three main components of the communication system is the transmitter, the transmission medium, and the receiver. So basically, the transmitter is a collection of electronic components and circuits designed to convert information into a signal suitable for transmission. So this is your microphone. So your transmission medium is what the electronics is a means of how electronic signal travel from one place to another, which is either your fiber optic or your typical wire. And your receiver is where the electrical signal received is able to be converted into a form that is understandable by human. So this is your speaker lah. So the three main components of a communication system is a transmitter, and then your transmission medium and your receiver. So it's a complete package where you start off with a microphone. Your signal, your voice is converted into electrical signal using the microphone, and then this signal is transferred through a medium, which is a wire or a fiber optic. And then when it reaches the end, which is the receiver, they will have a component in which is able to convert this electrical signal into a form that is understandable to human lah. Okay, so next question is asking you to differentiate what is simplex communication, full duplex communication, and half duplex communication. So in a simplex communication or a one-way communication, is usually only one party sharing the information to you, which is a TV lah, which is how our communication device used to be last time, and that is a TV or a radio. Now we have a full duplex communication. So as technology gets more and more advanced, we are able to actually communicate two-way. So the full duplex system is the system where both the party, the receiver and the transmitter, they are able to communicate each other at the same time, meaning they are able to both talk at the same time or both listen at the same time. So they don't have to switch between a hearing channel or a speaking channel. So this is a full duplex system. In a half duplex system, this means that the device is able to either transmit or receive at a single time. So if you are to transmit, you will not be able to receive any signal, and vice versa lah. So if you are to receive, then you will not be able to transmit any signal or any voice that you want. So an example of this is a walkie-talkie or a fax machine, in which you are able to receive or to send document. Only you cannot simultaneously do both lah, so you can only do one thing at a time. So for a full duplex system, this is like something like a phone lah, where you are able to talk, transmit the signal, the voice, and also listen at the same time without needing to switch between the channel. So this full duplex system is both way. Half duplex system, you need to be able to switch between receiving and transmitting. And then a one-way communication is as its name implied, a simplex communication. You're only able to obtain information. So you are not able to put in any information to the transmitter or to the person who's giving you the information. Okay, so next, this is question 3. There is 3 transmission media used for wired and wireless channel. So it's asking you to name transmission media used in telecommunication for wired and wireless channel. So for wired channel, there is 3-way, which is a 2-wire cable, or it's called a twisted pair, which is this. And then there's a coaxial cable, which is this. And then lastly is a fiber optic. So fiber optic is this. So for fiber optic is the new technology that we have lah. So for the first part, for the first and second one, which is a 2-wire cable and a coaxial cable, this is how we use to transmit media or how we used to transmit data. But now we come up with a more efficient method, which is using fiber optic. So when we are using this cable, we are actually transmitting electricity in the form of data, in the form of high and low pulses. So this electricity is able to this electricity have a magnitude of high and low, in which we will have a receiver to interpret what it means and display the info back to us in a form that we are able to understand. In this case, the fiber optic is also doing the same thing, but instead of using electricity, they are actually using light as their transmission medium. So this is a new technology lah, fiber optic. So apparently we find out that by converting our data into light, we are able to actually transfer more data as opposed to using electricity to transfer the information. Okay, so the next is we have wireless channel. So wireless channel of transmission media is still the same. We have a microwave tower and a satellite communication. So microwave tower is what you will find for our usage of our radio lah. So you are able to have an AM or a FM channel. So basically AM stands for amplitude and FM stands for frequency. So by having the high and low of amplitude and high and low of frequency, we are able to actually transfer the information using this different high and low wavelength. So like the wired communication, we are essentially broadcasting a set frequency of AM and FM, and then we need a receiver which is able to capture this frequency of AM and FM and convert it into a form that is understandable to us. So for satellite communication, it's also the same, but it's at an even higher frequency lah. So we are to transmit the signal from a ground equipment, and then the satellite will receive that signal, and by changing the frequency is able to send the signal back to Earth and to all of us receiver lah. So basically, satellite communication is good because we are sending wave up onto the sky, which do not have any obstacle. So if we are to use microwave, as the waves travel, we will find out that because there's high and low ground or high and low sea level, so we need to build a lot of microwave tower to keep amplifying the data. And then because there's mountain in which will obstruct the data, so that's why a satellite communication will provide a better signal as opposed to having microwave tower. So the technology behind this is also different lah. So this is using AM and FM. This is using another type of technology. Okay, so next, this is asking you to explain on how fiber optic system works in signal transmission of telecommunication. So basically, fiber optic is still the same as the normal two twist cable or the coaxial cable, but instead of using electricity, they are using light. So the principle is the same. They have electric pulse going into the cable, and then this electricity is able to is converted into light, and then from this light is converted back to the electricity. So the transmission and the receiver is the same principle as what you'll find when we are using a basic wire. Just that the form of transmission, we change it from electricity to light. Okay, so why are we changing and moving to fiber optic as opposed to copper wire? So fiber optic actually offer a lot of advantages as opposed to copper cable. So one of the advantages of fiber optic is there's low loss of signal. So you're able to transfer your data for a very long distance for up to 50 km without much loss of signal. So if you were to do that with copper cable, because you're using electricity, as the electricity travel through the copper wire, then they will lose some power due to the resistance of the copper itself. So that's why if you are to use light and then you are to travel it through a fiber optic cable, then because there's very less resistance in the glass and you're using light to travel through that glass, then there will be a very low loss of signal by using fiber optic and using glass as the media to transfer the signal. And also we are able to transfer large data, and then because the transferring medium is not electricity, so there's no interference due to electromagnetic field, and then there's also high security because fiber optic is a new technology, so it's not easily hacked. So even if you are able to expose a fiber optic cable, you'll only be seeing light at different frequency, which is not easy to decrypt. So that's why it offers a high technology. It's a new technology. It offers a high security. So no crosstalk between cable because it's not using electricity, and low weight due to it being fiberglass, and durable and long lifespan. So this is due to it being glass. If you are to cover it properly, then it do not rust like copper. And then it can withstand adverse temperature, moisture, and corrosion. So this is the properties of glass lah. So how they are better as compared to copper cable. Okay, so there is disadvantage to fiber optic. So although we have a lot of advantages, but it's not always a good situation to adopt fiber optic. So there are some advantages to fiber optic. So one of the advantages is because it's a new technology, so there's always a higher cost in installation. And then the optical transmitter and receiver, because it's new and it's more complex as opposed to the copper cable in communication, then for sure to have all this optical transmitter and receiver installation will be more expensive as compared to having the electrical cable transmitter and receiver. So the third one is more difficult and expensive to splice than wire. So wire is copper, so you can easily cut it. But fiber optic is glass. So depending on how you cut it, you might damage the entire line, or you might cause the whole communication medium to be not working correctly. So you need an expert to splice the fiber optic cable. And then lastly, because fiber optic is a glass, it's not designed to carry electrical power. So you will not be able to power your terminal device or your receiver device with the fiber optic. So you will not be able to use it if there's wartime Basically, this means so it is good in the city, but if you were to try to use it in the jungle, then it's not so convenient and not so advantageous. Okay, so question number 6 is to discuss the two methods for the external telecommunication cable supply to a building. So there are two methods. One of them is the underground supply, the other is the overhead supply. So underground supply method is as its name implied. You will lay the external telephone cable underground. So once you lay all this cable underground, you will not the one of the advantages of that is that it will be out of sight and you do not spoil the outlook of the area. So telephone service to large building is provided by underground cable because it is more economical. And then the underground cable must be provided for every dwelling when the property is being built. So one of the advantages of supplying the cable underground is it will be out of sight and nice and you will not spoil the outlook of the area. So you do not want a lot of cable, electrical cable, telephone cable, all this utility cable hanging around your neighborhood. So it will make your neighborhood very crowded. That's why it's always nice to have all these utilities line underground. So you do not want to have your sanitary or your water pipe on just above the ground, so it will look very unsightly. So that's the idea of why we want to have all our utilities underground. So this is a picture of how an underground supply system will look like. Then the last one is we have a overhead supply method. So instead of having it underground, if you were to supply it overhead, which means at a certain height, and then we have to bring it inside our building at roof level, then one of the advantages is that it is smaller and cheaper as compared to underground because underground cable you need to dig a hole and you need to plant them into the ground. And one of the advantages overhead supply have is that if there's additional dwelling, means more people is gonna occupy the area. So this is for landed house. So if more building is gonna be built at that particular area, then it will be more easy to provide additional telephone line to everyone. So if you were to have underground supply method for housing area, then it will be expensive to add new telephone line for the new dwelling who come to stay at the area. So you need to actually dig out the underground supply and connect the new additional telephone line to the new dwelling. So this is how it will look like if you have a overhead supply method for everything. So it will be a lot of wire hanging here and there, which will not look nice Okay, so this is the next question, question 7. So here is asking you to list and discuss the common intrusion detection for an intrusion detection system. So this is building services for security. So we have a few common intrusion detector for an intrusion detection system. So there's about 5. One of them is a close contact sensor. Second is a glass detector, mechanical motion detector, photoelectric intrusion detector, and microwave motion detector. So all of these, they have different method to detect that there's intrusion into the building. So this is a close contact detector. Means that if someone were to break the connection, then there will be a trigger to the system that there's an intruder alert. And then a glass breaker sensor. So if a person were to break the glass, it will detect the vibration. Means once the glass break, there will be enough force that this sensor will detect it and sound the alarm. Same for this IR sensor. So if someone were to break the line for the transmitter and the receiver, then the alarm will sound. And then for this motion sensor, microwave sensor, so this is what you will find in ball lah. So if someone with a tag, it will only allow someone with the tag that's able to send and receive the correct code, then it will open the door. So if you do not have the correct access code, when the motion wave send it out, then it will not open the door lah. Okay, so this is the last question. So with aids of diagram, discuss the concept of building automated system in a large building. So a BAS is essentially a remote monitoring and control of all the building facilities. So it's basically a one-stop center to control all the electricity, lighting, plumbing, ventilation, air conditioning, water supply, drainage, and any environment control system in a single control center. So this system BAS is what you will find in a commercial building or a condo. Basically, all the facility, all the building services which can be monitored and controlled should all be done in this building automation system. So this way, if you have any problem, the occupant in the worker in this BAS system will be able to adjust and control, and then they will be able to inform and manage all the building services in that particular building. So it's a properties manager job to control these building services to ensure that the occupant is having a very comfortable and being very comfortable in occupying the building lah. So if there's any danger, they will have to sound an alarm and notify the authority. But if there's no danger, if there's some misbalance of the temperature, then they should be there to adjust to make sure that the temperature is good or the water supply get cut off. Then they are required to send notice to everyone or find ways to ensure that there's a continuous supply of these building services to ensure a comfortable usage of the occupant for the building. So basically, that's about it lah for the BAS system. So to control all of this system, we won't be using wired. So usually when technology is not so advanced, there will be a lot of wire going in and out of the room to the control to the BAS in a room. But now since technology has advanced and it becomes so cheap, we are now using internet to control all the devices, all the building services devices in the building. So this is the diagram of how with just a computer and a transmitter and receiver for all these equipment, we are able to control them from a single computer. So these are the set features of what should be controlled by the property manager. Okay, so that's about it for your tutorial 9. So hope you guys understand.